I'm Kevin Davis. This is the Catholic Family Podcast, and I'm very happy to be joined by Dr. Peter Chojnowski of Sister Lucy Truth. We've had the doctor on several times, but it's been a while. It's been several months, and I'm
Sure.
always excited to have the good doctor on because there's always something new that he's cooked up and that's moving forward with
I
one of
don't
the great
I don't know if
mysteries of our
cooked up
time.
I don't know
I'm
if
sorry,
cooked
that's the
up
wrong
is
word.
the
I'm
one of the
sorry.
best things
You're
that
my
feeds
my
the
apologies.
enemies of Sister
My
Lucy
apologies.
too,
Not
so
cooked up. But that he has managed to work to bring truth to light. That is much better said. Cooked up was the wrong way to phrase it. But it's always good to have the doctor on, and it's just an amazing mystery. Really, one of the greatest mysteries of the last 100 years. What happened to Sister Lucy of Fatima? We have other long form podcasts that we've done about that, about who Sister Lucy is. You can go check them out. I think if you just search Sister Lucy Truth on this podcast, you certainly should be able to find it. We love doing this live because then you guys can also ask the good doctor your questions, and hopefully he'll be able to answer them as best he can. And we're hoping also that by the end, you guys will be looking to support the good doctor and his project to try to truly find what happened. What happened to Sister Lucy of Fatima? And Dr. Chojnowski again is doing everything he can to bring what happened to her to light. So doctor, I guess the first question is, what's new? What's new in the
well,
search?
yeah, thanks for having me on, Kevin. Well, what's new is really we're able for the first time to really present our evidence to a professional organization that is scientific and uh, directed towards the identification of people, and this was the Ohio Coroners Association. We were invited to present our material at one of their sessions on May 9th of this last month. And I did present for an hour our material that we've collected through the years, and both in video and in my own presentation to them. And I was very happy with the result because they clearly agreed with our conclusion that we've come to, that there were two individuals known as Sister Lucy, one the authentic Sister Lucy and one the imposter. So but it was a great, I mean, there was over 100
Hmm.
coroners there at the session. It was their yearly meeting. They have every year they come together. There's various presentations, video, and just personal presentations. A lot of graphic material you see as I was
Believe
sitting in
that?
on some of the
Yeah.
sessions. They're very, I mean, they got strong stomachs, to tell you the truth, because I've seen some of what they deal with, and it's
Oof.
not pleasant. Often it's quite evil, the things that they run into, and that's was described to me. But first thing I had to do was sort of present who Sister Lucy dos Santos was.
Hmm.
So the first part of the presentation was simply presenting who she was, her basic sort of biography as it is typically understood, and then show them some of the pictures that we have of her through the years, and then ask them, present to them, well, what's wrong with this? Do you see any problem? And of course, anyone who's seen the pictures and doesn't need glasses can pretty much see that there's some kind of difference. There's a
Mm.
significant difference between the Sister Lucy that appeared in early childhood in the 40s and 50s, and the Sister Lucy that appeared in 1967 and afterwards. So, presenting these pictures, then we said, well, we found a difference. We found a problem, and that had to be researched, that had to be addressed in a scientific way. So that's why we formed Sister Lucy Truth. That's why we um, commissioned all these experts to look at our material and make a judgment about, was it the same person? Was it a different person? If there was a different person, was it the same different person throughout the years from 1967 all the way until 2005? We went through our various reports. In an hour, of course, we couldn't
that's tight.
We couldn't present everything, especially when part of it had to be her biography and a basic presentation of what we were doing. But we were able to present over a half dozen reports, and then at the end, I took some questions from the audience, and they were, and I asked them simply, who thinks that it's the same person? How many people? And of course, no one raised their hand.
Really?
Wow. No one raised their hand. And I mean, these are a scientific group of people. These are practical. This is not a religious conference in any way. And I asked them, no one raised their hand when I asked if it was the same person. And many shouted out, "Nobody does." And when I asked whether they thought it was two people, you got the hands raised, and they shouted out, "Everybody does." So, no, it was a great experience. I'm absolutely ecstatic to have presented it to them, to have that opportunity. We have an account that was written by one of the coroners in attendance of his experience of, with our presentation and the response of the other coroners. So I think it's a historic event, if I could say so myself, because we're not just on the internet. We're not just speaking to people interested in Fatima, people interested in the Catholic faith, because that's not their purpose. And, from just asking around a bit, only maybe about 10% were Catholic from, the basic estimate that I got from individuals, private estimates. So most people came to it. I had to speak about the apparitions at Fatima at the beginning when presenting her biography, and even mentioned the miracle of the sun, because you can't really explain the significance of Sister Lucy, or why we'd spend time investigating the whole thing, unless you also present, why she's significant, or why we say she's significant. So, no, it was, it was a fantastic experience. And just to present it to these people that are sort of have strong stomachs and practical minds, and can figure out, how someone died, and when they're found on the side of the road frozen, and identify the cause of death, or when something a tire explodes, exactly what happened, or what, and someone was killed, exactly how they died. And I mean, that was the kind of other practical displays that were put on, and suicide prevention and all these things. So these people are serious, they're technical, they're scientifically minded, which is exactly the audience we wanted.
Right. Well, and it's interesting, because we talked a little bit before the show about how, I just hope every time something happens that it's going to go viral. It's going to push this a little bit into the mainstream. As Dad says here, he says, "Thank you both." But he says the fact that the fake Sister Lucy has never gained mainstream traction can only be the work of the devil. And that seems to be the case. I mean, I always wonder because I mean, you look at the evidence, and again, anyone who wants to go check it out at sisterlucytruth.org. It's just it keeps going and going and going. The evidence that you found, and now this is such a cool story, as you say, because it really is. It's pushing it, maybe not necessarily to the larger public. I hope it goes there, but as you say, you're putting it in front of people who they're not messing around. This isn't
No.
Kevin Davis. These are people who really, or do this for a living. And I think it's a good time to maybe read that letter if you want to, Dr. Chojnowski. I'll pull that up
Sure.
on screen because I think that was
Yeah.
that was pretty powerful. You sent that to me as well, and
Yeah.
I thought, wow, that's a
Gotta
pretty cool
put on
testament to. Oh wait, let's see. Let me share that real quick.
my reading glasses here.
Got it. I'm
Got
on
it?
my way. I almost need them.
Okay.
Let's see. It's almost on screen. Just a sec. There we go. Yep. Go ahead.
Okay. It says this is from Dr. Jeffrey Beery. He's an MD. He's the Highland County coroner in Hillsboro, Ohio. And he says, Dear Dr. Chojnowski, thank you for traveling to Columbus, Ohio this past week to address the Ohio State Coroners Association. I found your presentation very helpful in slowly, logically, and methodically breaking down the components of visual identification. All of us Ohio coroners and investigators do this primarily intuitively by looking at pictures, but breaking down the science of this with expert letters from world-renowned scientists will be helpful to me and many others for future use in our legal obligation to properly identify the deceased. More specifically, the photographs of Sister Lucia, the Fatima visionary, showed a clear fraud. Pre-1960 Lucia visionary was replaced by an imposter in 1967. The evidence you presented was completely convincing as to this point, and 100% of our coroners and coroners investigators present at the meeting, totaling well over 100, all agreed that they were two different people. I hope that the proper legal authorities will investigate this because it points not only to fraud, but possibly murder. Thank you for your important work, and please keep me posted on any new information as it comes to light. Sincerely, Jeffrey Beery, MD.
Wow.
So he's the one who opens. I didn't even mention it in my presentation, but he's the one that opens up the possibility that there was murder involved in this. Clearly, there was identity theft. I mean, there's no doubt about that. But he's the one who opens up the possibility that there was murder involved, which is what we've always suspected. That, I mean, of course, this is a possibility, and that's what he deals with. I mean, that's the kind of things he deals with. So when he sees the evidence, when he knows the difference between these people, the question is, well, what accounts for it? And I think unless she was locked away someplace tight and never allowed to emerge, you have to consider either she died and they covered up her death and replaced her with someone else, or she was murdered. I mean, there's no other real possibilities. So but he also says something that I think is significant, that this should be brought to the legal authorities and this should be presented to them to investigate. And someone did go. Carlos Evaristo did go in the 90s. An apologist for the fake Sister Lucy did go in the 90s to the Portuguese police, opening up asking, do you realize that there's an imposter here, that there's someone, that seems to be have replaced Sister Lucy, and they sent him away basically, and to someone, Dr. Zugaby, who convinced him that there was no problem, that there was only one Sister Lucy. And but
Was she still alive at that point?
this was the 1990s, so the imposter was still alive. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
He
Huh.
had basically just met with her, and this was 1994, 1995. I'm forgetting the dates. But 1991, 1992. But anyways, this was, she was still alive for another over 10 years. So no, people recognized in the past, but it was quickly covered over, and there was no scientific attempt to identify that there was a problem, and to focus in on the fact that there was a substitution. So now we can say, our investigation, our facts have been reviewed by coroners, a scientific group, and they were very receptive, and they ended up agreeing with our conclusions, which is that there was a substitute. So, some of them who had raised their hands in the question answer time were interested in the question. Well, why?
Yeah.
What was the sort of the conspiracy behind it all? And we had to admit that I don't know. Uh, uh, so, and
It's part
I
of the
didn't.
mystery, right? Yeah, exactly.
Part
I
of the
mean,
mystery.
yeah.
I didn't bring up all the religious implications, or the situation in the church that might have brought this about. But I wanted it to be a strictly scientific presentation based on the reports that we received. So that was my intent, and that's what I hope I presented.
It looks like you must have done a good job. If you can convince them, that's the shocking thing again, that this seems very clear to anyone, as you said, anyone who looks at the pictures. It's like no. So I guess that's the question. Is, I mean, what can you do next? And I guess I wonder if so let's say because I know you want to do a documentary. Which again, if anyone can support Sister Lucy Truth, go over and do it. sisterlucytruth.org, to be able to get stuff like that done. That stuff is not free, guys. These researches, all these different things, they cost money. So if you want to support this project, in this trying to solve this mystery, go and do that over at sisterlucytruth.org. And I guess, I mean, so if you, let's just say hypothetically, you get you do a documentary and you get 10 million views, or something like that. It goes big, but then what? I mean, can you? Do you think then you could get enough momentum behind it that people are saying, "Hey, we do need to take this to the authorities," and then I guess I don't know, you take it to Portugal? I mean, what do you think? I know, again, this is steps in the future and hypothetical, but
Yeah, I know. Well, we don't have a single task in front of us. We have sort of different tasks. One is the documentary. One is making contacts in Fatima itself, and we've done that. And we've identified people in Fatima itself who know it was a fraud, and that there was fraud perpetrated. And hopefully, and we're uncovering stories, and but and the more you sort of put this out, the more people come forward saying, well, I always knew it was a fraud at this time, at that time, because of this, because of when I saw this and that. So the fact of the fraud is sort of emerging more clearly, but still the identity of the imposter sort of is still hidden. And we know for certain, well, I know for certain that there are cardinals who have heard our case, or have heard about Sister Lucy Truth, and have heard the basics presented of our case. Um, some are hoping and trying to work towards the goal of having them do something publicly.
Hmm.
I'd love to have Archbishop Vigano actually take up the story of the imposter Sister Lucy and look at our investigation if he hasn't looked at it already.
If anyone would, it seems like he would be interested
I
in
know
that type of a thing.
you think he would be
Yeah.
interested because it sort of chimes in with a lot, or
Yeah.
canceled priest organization, which
Right.
was a convention I attended a couple years ago or a year ago. Um, it's a slow burning fire,
Hmm.
basically. It
Yeah.
just is, and uh, there's such a. But I think when we're dealing with this, I was in Rome recently, a couple of months ago, and just after Francis had died, and the big problem is the new church. The new church. It's a real serious entity. However unpleasant it is and doctrinally deficient, and with regard to its priest and sacraments, and all that, which we have. I don't want to say have problems with, because it's much more than that. It's a real thing, and people instinctively know that if you say this about Sister Lucy, if you say she was replaced, if you say even open up the possibility, which is a real possibility, that she was murdered, well, then what does that say about many of the people that we've held up as not only heroes but even saints?
Yeah.
Let's say about them.
Yeah.
That
And right. Exactly. I hope that's what it brings. Right? I hope it opens that door.
I hope, yeah, I know. Well, it should open the door, because we're just dealing with facts again.
Right.
These are facts, and we're looking for a factual history. So if it clarifies our understanding of what happened in the past, that's good. We should want truth, and we should want the cold, uh, clear water of truth and reality to dump upon on our heads
Right.
and wake us up to reality and what's actually the case. But that's, some people don't want to. A lot of people are invested in that new church that emerged in the 1960s, and they realize how dangerous this is, that to seemingly to them. I mean, why would the truth be dangerous? Why wouldn't you? If you see this, why wouldn't you want to look into it more? Why not?
Right. Well,
And
and again, like you said, you're producing actual scientific content. You're not just throwing out ideas. You're not throwing out conspiracy theories. And I think that's why, again, this report, going up in front of these 100 coroners, this
right,
isn't. I see some comments that are kind of complaining. Hey, we're just kind of, this is leading people away from truth. And look, guys, the doctor's just putting out the information. And again, he just convinced 100 coroners that these are not the same person. So I mean, go check out
that
before you
matters.
complain that this isn't true. Go check out the website, please. There is so much evidence there that go look
Right.
into it before you start saying, "Hey, this is all garbage." Look at it. Go look at sisterlucytruth.org. I'm telling you guys, you're going to be your mind's going to be blown.
Absolutely. And well, I mean, this is how we wanted to approach it, because we knew that there would be all these different groups and all these different mentalities, which is, that's how it is. But we wanted to get to the answer to this question: is it the same person or not? And, we wanted it to be, physiological, and using the most modern ways of analyzing evidence in, in this cold case, really. So we went about it in that way, and this is the result. But of course, these scientific facts, these cold hearted presentations, if you will, are, have religious implications. They don't, they're going to have religious implications by the very fact that this is the woman that, saw the miracle of the sun and asked for it, actually. And so there's going to be those religious implications, but okay, everyone can take it where they like and draw from it what they like, but the fact should be acknowledged. And by the very fact that a coroner is coming forward with, on his official stationery, signing his name and giving his account of what he heard in person, that he's willing to do this and to say, well, it should be taken up by authorities as a possible case of murder, even certainly of identity theft and fraud. This is significant. So look at it, think about the implications, and, if you can, help us in the next step, which is always, putting out our material, finding other ways of analyzing, the data, and then investigating what happened. Where's the real Sister Lucy? And what happened to her exactly? And who is the imposter? And, ultimately, hopefully, we find reasons for all of this, that can be based on fact and testimony and cold hard evidence. But no, I mean,
I just like this comment from Susie. Thank you so much for persevering in pursuit of the evidence. I'm one of the many who saw the face of the fake Sister Lucy 30 years ago on a book cover and thought that's not her. Yeah, again, for the doubters out there, it's fine. I'm glad you're here. Like really, I think that's really good that you're here watching, because I think go look at the evidence. If it doesn't convince you, then that's okay. I mean, but there's a lot of evidence, and there's a lot of very smart, scientific minded people who are saying, yep, nope, that's not the same person. And I think, if you know about the history of this time frame, she was there in 60 and then gone in 67, right? At least that's what the coroner said, I think, if I remember right. And just think about what was happening in these times. You have the third secret as well. You have Vatican II. You have the total shift. No matter what you believe about the situation of the church now, is a total shift of ideology and faith, etc., in this exact time period. And you connect this to a missing seer. It's an incredible story. It's really, I mean, I can't wait for you to do a documentary, because it's so intriguing.
it is an incredible story, and to understand it within the context is critical, because we can imagine reasons why, if we depart from the cold hard evidence itself, we can imagine reasons why she would disappear or be disappeared at this particular moment. We're always trying to, identify exactly when this would have occurred. But even if we say from, 1958 to 1967, somewhere in that time period, we can imagine there was so much happening in the church. And, even my parents remember the buildup to 1960 in people's minds, and then the disappointment when nothing happened. When the third secret wasn't revealed as it was supposed to be revealed. They were all expecting that it would be revealed, but it wasn't. And they indicated, well, probably won't ever be revealed, or won't ever be revealed. So she, at one time in history, she was a critical figure in the minds, not only of Catholics, but in people's minds in general. I mean, sort of on the world stage, because this was the time of the Cold War and communism. And so I can easily imagine why she disappeared. Of course, I don't want just imagine, I want proof or,
Right.
evidence. So, but they sort of got a figure that went along with their agenda. If you never objected to it, the Vatican, obviously, I don't think there's any doubt that the Vatican was involved in her disappearance. I mean, it just using your logic, you can say, well, there's no way that she could possibly be removed from the convent without the Vatican signing off on it. Such a, one of the main figures in the Catholic world.
Well, and
And
then being on stage with both Paul VI and JP2
right,
on several occasions, I think, right? So
right.
I mean, it was not like she was hidden.
No,
Yeah.
she wasn't hidden away at all. And so they were bold in presenting this other woman, and we should be bold too in pointing out that there's this imposture that happened, and we are being bold. We went before the coroners of the state of Ohio to present this, and invite me to your state's coroners association, and I'll present the same thing, and let's see what they say. Let's
Yeah.
see what they say, and let's argue about it, or let's just let them make a judgment. Um, it's a lie. Well, just look at the material. I
Yeah.
don't know what I'm making up. That sort of
Well,
private. I
and what do
don't
you
know.
have to
I'm not
gain
writing
too,
these
right?
things. I'm not writing
Yeah.
these reports. I'm not writing this letter. I'm receiving it and I'm putting it together, and so I don't know. It's sort of frustrating because people don't want their narratives, impeded upon, and
Sure. Well,
and
and it's a big thing. I mean, again, you start to look at the implications of what it means if they replace her. Let's just say that they hid her away. That's the best case scenario. And they replaced her with someone else. Again, that has to make you start thinking, okay, wait, who did that? Why? And so I get it. I get why people would just be on the surface of it, like, this is crazy talk. The church wouldn't do that. It's like, well, that's a good point, right? The church wouldn't do that. So I think that's a good place to start. And so, again, though, if you look at the time, the era, and what was going on, and I
so
think, I can imagine too, if there's anyone who seemed fitting, and I don't know if the word is worthy of martyrdom, it definitely could have been
right,
her.
right. And well, they got someone who went along with everything they came up with,
Yeah,
and I can't help but believe that the real Sister Lucy wouldn't have gone along with everything they came up with. If I saw Jesus Christ
yeah,
and in apparitions, and if I saw the Blessed Virgin Mary, and if I asked her for a miracle and it actually happened and was seen by 70,000 people, okay, if I was that person, I would speak up.
yeah,
I would speak up. I wouldn't be afraid. I mean, are we saying that the real Sister Lucy would have gone along without making comment, without making even critique at all of all the things that have happened since the 1960s, of all you know, the revolutionary activity that's happened within the Vatican, within the church, even the scandals? She would have remained silent about all of that? I don't think so. Personally, I don't think so. And maybe that's one reason they replaced her,
yeah,
is that she would have said something. She would have come forward. And there's also the idea out there that, oh, you know they lived side by side together, the fake and the real one, which is to me absurd.
Unlikely. Yeah.
Unlikely to the nth extreme, because, well, first of all, no one testifies to that. First of all, there's no photographic or video evidence of that. And in no book or account does anyone speak about a real Sister Lucy and a fake one being, together, or even hinting at it. So, um, no, she was eliminated somehow, one way or another. Either, yeah. So that's all we can say at this point.
Well,
But
and there's some of these videos too that, again, just if you look at just with the eye test, and again, that's why I really so much appreciate what you do, because you have the scientific evidence that we're really trying to put together. But you can also just look at some of these things. Look at the eye. Just look at it, guys. Look at these videos of her. There's a video of her voting. I know we've done on previous shows. We've watched a lot of this content before of her voting, and
I didn't even
but
know
she
her name.
didn't know her name. And there's another one where she receives communion from JP2, and she just acts like a weird person. I mean, like, really bizarre. It's a really strange video, and she's like holding his hand and kissing it, like right after receiving
Yeah,
communion.
she
It's very
for,
strange. It's like, that
for the
can't be
woman
Sister
for
Lucy.
the woman who received communion from an angel, and
Yeah,
he taught her how to prostrate herself in the proper way, and receive in the proper way, and the significance of the Eucharist, that the real Sister Lucy would, after receiving communion, sort of going up to grab it, and after finally John Paul II gets it on, puts it on her tongue, she goes to grab his hand and start kissing it right after she, uh, receives the host, is another bizarre thing that I don't personally believe the real Sister Lucy would do.
exactly.
And besides the fact that in interviews in the 1990s, she basically contradicted everything the original Sister Lucy had said about the purpose and content of the Fatima apparitions. So, I mean, there's so many things. It's not just the forensics. I mean, there's more to it than that. And we've put together, videos, and put them out there on X and on our websites about this other aspect. Even her dialect is different than the real Sister Lucy's
Hmm.
would have been. It's from a different region in Portugal than
Interesting.
the original Sister Lucy was from. We have that from a professor at University of Coimbra, where she was a nun in Coimbra. But so there's all these various things that identify a fraud, and I believe that it has to be one of the top level secrets of of the Vatican, and that's why people are afraid to touch it. Emanuela Orlandi secret is sort of, they're letting a bit out, and they're considering it, and her disappearance, and the Italian parliament was investigating. Well, this is also a top secret, and I would say, because of who she is, uh, one of the very most hidden secrets in the Vatican. And it's about time that we put it out there and people start talking about it and demanding answers.
Absolutely. And I hope, again, everyone who's watching this, we appreciate everyone in the comment section, especially anyone who's not watching it live, of course, you as well. Please do go and share this video. Go and share sisterlucytruth.org everywhere you can. We have a bunch of other videos. We've been doing this probably 2 or 3 years now with the doctor. We've had we do like 2 or 3 videos per year, because the doctor always has some new evidence or something come up. So we've done, I think, maybe 5 or 6 videos total, something like that. So
Right.
you guys can go and share those as well. You can find those on Catholic Family Podcast. But yeah, again, just share the information, because I really think, again, something, I don't know what it's going to be, is going to go
I don't
viral.
know either. But
And
I mean,
and then it's
if last month,
yeah.
the Ohio State Coroners Association can be basically saying, well, of course it's not the same
Yeah.
person. That's a significant, marker that we've passed, and hopefully more, scientific groups will, or forensically oriented groups will ask us to speak, and we're more than willing. I mean, if you don't agree, if you find some problem, well, then show us, or you know,
Yeah, and if someone wants to send this video to Archbishop Vigano as well, maybe
yeah,
he can
absolutely.
get the word out there a little bit too.
Right. Where's the problem? And it's a matter, Kevin, it's a matter of justice. It's
Yeah.
not just a matter of, I don't know, spinning some kind of tale. It's a matter of cold hard justice. And this is what, Dr. Beery mentioned in his letter, that there are legal implications. This is a case, and it has to be pursued. And we're going to talk about it, and we're going to present it in Columbus, Ohio, or wherever people allow us to present it at, and we'll take their comments. We'll stand there and hear what they have to say, and we'll do that. But it's an objective thing, and you know you can't just simply write it off or attribute it to people having a certain religious view, and bringing up all these red herrings. Well, in the letter, the punctuation wasn't exactly right. Well, have you read like articles recently by these, I don't know, I read Paul Craig Roberts, former undersecretary of the Treasury. He substitutes the wrong word sometimes in his articles, and it's I say, okay, made a he's writing, he's got things to do, and he can't look at everything with a microscope, or he doesn't have time, or just missed it. So don't use that as a way of covering your eyes to the fact that Sister Lucy dos Santos of Fatima was replaced. You should be asking, why was she replaced, and what's being done about it? What happened to her? What happened to her? And who's this other woman that committed identity fraud? Because I don't care how nice the lady is. Maybe she was a pious nun. I don't know.
Right.
I can't say she wasn't, but she wasn't Sister Lucy dos Santos of Fatima. And that's who she was claiming to be, even to the point of voting in her name. That's voter fraud, and that's explicit identity theft. So, because that's not her. I can't imagine the real Sister Lucy voting, any myself,
Yeah.
but even if she did, you're voting for her, because that's not her. So, but there must be a high level of intrigue, or, knowledge that certain things you don't talk about, you don't bring them up, you don't.
It's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But it's the same theologically these days too, right? I mean, I think again, it's just that it seems there are far too many people who don't actually want the truth. Are they actually searching for truth? And I'm not going to point fingers. I don't know. I'm not going to judge anyone individually, but it seems like there's a lot of that just trying to, like, it's too uncomfortable. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to see it. I don't want to look at Rome and see the problems. And I think that that's obviously a problem. I mean, people need to just, if you are godly, if you're a Christian, shouldn't you just want truth? Shouldn't you actually, just be open to truth and want to find what that is? And I think, again, open your eyes, go check out the website. Again, if you guys have doubts, look at it. Look at it.
If this happened, maybe it'll help us understand other things that happened back then, right?
Yeah.
I know that I don't know, but Fatima is a really important thing objectively. I had someone present to me a series of articles about Frank Shakespeare, who was an envoy for Ronald Reagan, I believe. And at one point, he was given the charge of investigating the whole Fatima situation and interviewing the relatives of Sister Lucy, which seems like a bizarre thing for
Interesting. Yeah.
someone representing the U.S. government or involved in the U.S. government. But what was that all about? Maybe there is something interesting, because Fatima is not meant to be a pious devotion. It's meant to be a clarion call, trumpeting to the world that God exists, the Catholic faith is true, Our Lady is mother of, the baptized and the people of the church, and potentially of all people, and that her Immaculate Heart is there for us to approach in order to save our souls. I mean, that's what it was meant to be. That's why there was a miracle of the sun, objective, for anyone to see, even Masons who worked for a newspaper whose official job is to destroy any belief in Catholic truth and to undermine the Catholic faith. That's their job. And yet they were there and convinced. So by presenting this in an objective way, just the evidence, I wanted to do the same thing that Our Lady did at the Miracle of the Sun. Here it is. Look with your eyes. Anybody, whether you're Protestant, atheist, Catholic, or agnostic, and make a judgment. What does it mean? And that's what Fatima was.
Yeah.
That's what Fatima was. And that's what I wanted this investigation to be. And that's what I hope I've presented. So,
well, you got it with 100 doctors, so I think it's a good step. Dr. Peter Chojnowski, as always, it's a absolute pleasure having you on the show. As always, like I said, I'm always excited to see what's coming from you. How can people follow you? Again, of course, they can go to sisterlucytruth.org. What other ways can they find out what's going on with you?
I put everything up on X. We have a Sister Lucy Truth account on X, and whatever comes, I post there. Also on Rad Trad Thomist, I have a blog that I post to sometimes. And so, and our sites, we have 2 sites for the material for Sister Lucy Truth, sisterlucytruth.org or sisterlucytruth.com.
Okay.
The more recent one is sisterlucytruth.com.
Oh,
but
got it.
Yeah, you can follow us there and on those places. And if you do, you'll find out what's next, and who's getting this information, and what's the next step.
Perfect. Well, I'll leave it here just a minute for anyone who has any questions for the doctor. You got to do it quickly though, because we're running out of time. I've heard babies crying a couple times here in the background, and a rooster crowing on the doctor's side. So I guess it's time for him to wake up. I don't think that's on my side. I mean, I hear it's 9 p.m. So the rooster would be a little off on my side.
15 chickens and 6 sheep. So that's
nice. Living the life.
That's out the window. Yeah.
It's a beautiful spring day. I gotta say that for sure. Well, if we don't have any questions, then I guess we will leave it there. Again, Dr. Peter Chojnowski, thank you very much. As always, it was a pleasure. Yeah, absolutely. We'll be in touch. Absolutely. Again, we'll wait for you to go in front of 100 more coroners, and
absolutely.
We'll talk then. We'll pray for you that you continue and continue your progress towards finding the truth, because again, this is a mystery that definitely needs to be solved. And it's also a mystery that needs to be put out in the public. Because again, if people start to realize these are two people, it's going to make them think. It's going to make them really consider what all happened in those crazy years of the 1960s.
Absolutely.